Does it work now? Ah, there we go. Okay. I have no idea. The mic worked earlier. It didn't work when I switched over. It works now. Welcome to Friday the 13th. If your if your day has been as hectic as mine, I feel very, very sorry for you because my day has been hell, basically. So hopefully the stream goes by smoothly. I think it's just that we're caught up in the middle, like we're in the middle of Mercury in retrograde, and it's Friday the 13th, and everything today decided to go wrong. So there we go. Let's just kind of par for the course. The Suns lost last night in terrible fashion, and so my day is this week has just been a hard week. So that being said, we're gonna go over like a couple of different things. I'm gonna go over the last two Vertex fountain pens that we released because I didn't do because I didn't do videos of those. We didn't do videos of those because the software that I use for videos was basically, I don't know what's wrong with it. Basically, I put in a ticket. They did some stuff in the back end. Everything's working now. So excuse me. So I haven't done videos of those. So I'm going to go over the two last Vertexes that we released. I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming pen shows. Hello, Maria. Hello, Andrew. Sean. Ish is here. Jerry. Hello. So, and obviously, if there's time for a Q&A, we'll do a Q&A. It's probably going to be time because I don't actually have a lot to go over. Part of the reason that that's the case is we're kind of waiting on stuff to come in. And I don't want to tease it before I actually have it in front of me because it's kind of some big stuff. So, teasing it on here and then not really being able to show it or even really talk that much in depth about it because it's like 75% done. So, and there's some ideas that I'm kicking around that I need to flesh out a little bit before I release them on a live stream. So this live stream is probably going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I'll wait for a couple more minutes, let some people jump on here. And then we'll kind of get into things. We'll just start with the two Vertexes. And the reason I was going to go over again some of the how we pick names is because I've gotten a bunch of questions about it recently. Excuse me. So I figured I would cover it again. I think I've covered it in a live stream before, but you know. If people ask me about it, I'll go ahead and cover it a second time. So if you're having trouble with the stream, I don't know what the deal is. I'm kind of looking at the metrics right now. And it looks like there's some fluctuation in bandwidth. And I don't know if that's just on my end or if it's affecting the way you guys are viewing. But just so you know, there is a little bit of wonkiness going on according to my little metrics for the live stream stuff. All right, so I'll go ahead and get into it now. We can just start. And you don't have to look at my face. We'll go over here, and of course, all right. So we released the Hyperion last month, Hyperion Vertex last month, towards the end of the month. And again, if you're unfamiliar with Hyperion, Greek origin in Greek mythology, one of the Titans children of Gaia and Uranus, and had a hand in killing his father later on in Greek mythology. That's the one that's obviously on the left. I've actually put the lids there so that I can denote which one is which. So when we looked at that one, there was a lot of different ways we could go. And since a lot of the stuff that we're drawing from is mythology based, with the red and kind of like, we kicked around a lot of different ideas. Hephaestus was one of them. I'm trying to think what else, if we did Mars or Aries or not, but a bunch of them were either the Forge or Vulcan with the volcanoes, Hephaestus. So we've had some, so we went back and forth. Ish and I did on this one. And I think Ish basically landed on Hyperion specifically for the name. It's just kind of it's a great name. It has a very, mid-century, like auto age, space age type feel to it. It's even the sound of it with Arion, and it's kind of that automaton, like that kind of feel to it. So it's kind of almost an homage name to some of the stuff that we've done in the past in terms of how how we've named pins and or just named product in general, but also ties in with Greek mythology. So that was kind of where we went with that one. Again, this is it's a material sourced from Turner's workshop. Can't say enough good things about Vince at Turner's workshop. If you are in the market for some material to get a custom pen made out of, I highly recommend going to Vince. I can't recommend him enough. If you're in Europe or the UK and you have a chance to go to some of the UK pen shows, I believe Vince and his partner own, if not all of them, the majority of them now. So you'll, if you're over there, you'll have a chance to potentially meet him. I haven't met him. Looking forward to meeting him. He's helped us out with a lot of different products. I'm hoping we can do something together where he can sell some of our products either at the shows or through his website and stuff like that. He's asked about that. It's just kind of hasn't come to fruition yet. I don't remember specifically what this material was. I believe I marked it as Aeronoid in the beginning, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually a different producer. And then, again, Ish did the artwork, really great design, kind of futuristic, kind of like, I don't know. It's just one of those weird, it's got a lot of different elements in it, a little bit of Art Deco. You can ask him in the comments where he drew his inspiration from. I know we talked about it at the time, but I, for the life of me, have forgotten. And then for Mother's Day, we did I'm going to butcher this name, Meteroreia, and combine those two words together. Again, this draws from mythology and kind of not initially Greek mythology. It draws specifically from Cybele, who is an Anatolian, Phrygian goddess, like a mother goddess type figure that was found in Anatolia, which is Turkey, modern day Turkey. Really interesting background on, like, I've always had a fascination with mythology. I've talked about that before. Really interesting background on her, just in terms of but the potential for her to be such an old deity in terms of her worship potentially going back thousands and thousands in thousands of BC. BCE, BC, however you want to annotate it. But it's a very interesting, she has a very interesting timeline in terms of moving through from Phrygia into the Grecian pantheon, and then ultimately into the Roman pantheon. And I think the story about her being adopted into Roman pantheon and Roman worship was very interesting, just due to the fact that it coincided with the Second Punic War, which is basically the war with Carthage, and how, whether you believe in it or not, or whether the stories are true, they basically said, yes, if you bring this goddess in, she'll help us win. And they ended up doing that and winning that war. And then she was adopted by numerous different emperors and through the imperial era. Really, just very, very interesting how this type of figure would go through the history of multiple different ancient civilizations and impact their way of life and culture and stuff like that. So, and because Mother Goddess being Mother's Day, we kind of went with that. This material is an Aryanoid material. It's cyclamen, which multiple different pen manufacturers have released pens with this material before in the past. A couple different UK manufacturers have. And they've always used that word. I don't particularly agree that it looks very much like the flower. Cyclamen is a plant, and while it is like pink and white and different colors, it's not really. To me, it doesn't really have the gold or any of the other. I'll put a link to some of the photos, the Google photos of that particular flower. It just, to me, this material does not look like that flower, so I don't necessarily know where they got that name from. Which is one of the big reasons why we decided specifically to kind of move away from that and choose something else specifically. And so the Hyperion release was about, I don't remember, I think we ended up having about 65 or 70 pens. And the Meteroreia release, we probably only had about 45 pens that we ended up releasing. So we've sold through quite a bit of both of those at this time. There's still some up on the website, obviously, but that's kind of where we're at right now with those two materials. And again, Ish went with a really stripped down logo in terms of the lid. I really like the way that he went with it, just due to the fact, if you've read the description that we used, that I typed up for the pen itself, the little logo in the center, the crown / mountain / lion's mane, because Sibylle was associated with mountains and lions and the what's it called now? I'm going to draw a blank on the type of crown that it is. The mural crown. That logo like just really fit. It's very plain. It's very simple. It's very understated, but it's also very indicative of kind of like where we were going, Ish and I, when we were problem solving this one. And I say problem solving. I say problem solving very honestly. Like sometimes it is very much like problem solving in terms of coming up with the names for the product and then like hammering down on what type of imagery that we're going to use for those. So I actually failed to bring in the next Vertex because I was going to show off the next Vertex, and I don't have it. If you're a fan of brown, it is brown. It's a real nice looking pen. It's a little bit understated. It doesn't have a lot of like shininess or sparkliness to it or anything like that, but it is a very nice, rich brown. And and Ish and I are working on planning out the name for that one. I don't think we've landed on something. Have we landed on something specific, Ish? I don't think we have. So excuse me. Sometime this month we'll launch that one. It's already the 13th, so probably towards the end of the month. So that's kind of brings us up to date in terms of vertexes. I just wanted to kind of do those because we didn't put them up on the website. We still do have several of the previous versions, which kind of like leads me into the pen show conversation. So we've been asked a whole bunch when we're going to start going to pen shows again. We didn't go to any earlier this year, or any of the ones that were open last year. The few that were open last year, we kind of kicked around ideas about going to Chicago, and we didn't end up going to Chicago. Obviously, didn't end up going to Atlanta either. But in talking about all that, we are going to officially go to San Francisco, Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. So those are basically the beginning of August and the end of August. So I think DC is like the 4th, 5th, and 6th, or 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, something like that. And then San Francisco is like the 26th, 27th, 28th, or somewhere around there. So it's basically the beginning of August and the end of August. And we have plans to do several different, crossing my fingers, we're planning on doing a cityscape themed Vertex for like DC, and then another one for San Francisco. We're also planning on launching the second round of Constellation series releases at DC, and so like the first one will be at DC, and the second Constellation release will be at San Francisco. So, and then there may be an additional one. It's probably only going to be 3 this time, 3 or 4, probably. So you will have like the DC one, the San Francisco one, a pen club only release, and then one that will hit the website. So about 4 releases in total between August and September, and then maybe one in October. Haven't really finalized that yet. And if you're a Vertex person and you really like the Constellation series, there's a couple people that have collected one of every single release. So I don't know if they're going to continue to do that with the next batch that we do. Midwest shows next year, Sean, maybe. We've gone to Chicago in the past, and we've done St. Louis the first year that we did St. Louis. It's always a possibility. Like I said, we had planned to do Chicago this year. We had wanted to do Chicago. It was just when we finally like came down to the fact, okay, we're going to do pen shows this year. It was too late to get the table space that we needed at Chicago. Apologies. I'm a little bit under the weather. Or I don't feel bad. I sound bad, and I have a sore throat and weirdness, but I think it's just the changing weather and stuff like that out here. But it's like it was like 80 something yesterday, and it's like 97 today. So, so we are going to have some special releases at the different pen shows. I hope to be able to send some anodized some anodized titanium stuff to both shows. What else? Cheers. There's some other random vertexes that we have not released. Really, really small amounts of them. Like I think there's like 7 of one color and like 4 of another. Those will all be going to the pen shows. And we're kind of changed some stuff in terms of pen shows going forward. We are going to primarily only take special edition, limited release, small batch, and exclusive and like pen show exclusive stuff. Our normal pens, like our standard versions that we sell of the inks, even the standard vertexes and standard decagraphs, we probably won't take with us. Well, we don't really have that many, and instead of that, we will probably like take pen show flyers that have or actually what we'll probably do is I'll probably have a computer or other device there that will, if somebody wants to purchase a regular pen, we'll issue like a store credit on the spot, email it to that person and be like, sorry, we couldn't bring, a black ink to the show. Here's $10 off or whatever, or a 15% coupon code, and it'll get emailed to that person and then they can purchase it on the website. There's just only so much flying. There's just only so much stuff you can take to the pen shows. And so it gets really, really difficult. There's only so much table space. If you've been to a pen show before, it gets really difficult to allocate, like, how am I going to do my displays? How am I going to, what pens am I going to have? Stuff like that. So it's a little bit difficult when it comes down to it, when you start to decide, this is what I'm going to take versus this is what I'm not going to take. I believe the San Francisco show, some of us are driving with like the material, with the pens and everything. They're driving over there. I'll be flying to that show. And so I'll get there, take an Uber to the hotel Thursday, check in, help set up. They'll be driving and they'll get there Thursday, and then we'll kind of set everything up. So there'll be more space potentially to take some other things to that show. But as far as the DC show, we'll have to kind of pare it down and only take the necessities, the stuff that we really really do need to take with us, or do want to take with us. I will be at the San Francisco show. As of right now, I do not plan on going to the DC show. Now that could change. We have to finalize who's going to be going to the DC show, just because it's a relatively busy show. Right now, I think there's only 2 people that are scheduled to go to that show, and we probably need 3. So I will be figuring out whether that's going to be me or Bill or somebody else. But as of right now, I'm only going to the San Francisco show right now. Those are the only shows that are finalized. I know there's other shows that are on the calendar this year. Those are the only shows that we paid for. Those are the only shows that we've actively purchased tables to, purchased tickets to, purchased rooms for. So there could be other shows shortly before that or after that we could go to. We just have not made that decision yet. And I apologize right now for wiping all over myself. The air conditioning in here is not on Fridays, and so it's 85 degrees under the lights. Okay, so that kind of brings us up to where we're at. Ish has his work cut out for him. In the next 5 months, we're probably going to need between now and August. Let's see how much work we can give Ish real quick. So between May 13th and August 26th, we're going to need the 2 Pen Show exclusives plus 4 Constellation. So that's 6 lids. Then we'll need the brown one, which will be the May release. We'll need 1 for June, probably 2 for July. So yeah, that's 10 lids that Ish is going to have to do between now and then. Do you think that's enough work for Ish? Ish, is that enough work? Is that enough work for you? Am I overwhelming you right now? Here's your notification. Between now and the end of August, I need 10 lids. I'll help you come up with stuff, but there's 10 of them. So that kind of brings us through the vertexes. I needed that. I needed that laugh. If you're not laughing along with me, you should be. That kind of brings us through the 2 vertexes we released, the plans for the pen shows. We're like 37 minutes, 25 minutes into the live stream. So I don't have a lot else to talk about, unfortunately, because we're working on getting back up to speed in terms of production, having a really difficult time sourcing anodized, which is one of the reasons why we haven't had a lot of different anodized stuff come in. That's getting relatively problematic for us right now in terms of not having anodized partners that we can use. So it's always been an issue to find good quality anodizers, and we're kind of up against it in terms of product that we don't have anodized. I have the pens, I just can't send them out because I don't have anybody to send them to. Or I have people to send stuff to, but they don't have the colors that I need. So that's why you're kind of seeing a little bit of a slowdown in terms of some of the normal like releases. I had planned on launching the next like mini series of pens of like products already. That's totally been put on hold for probably the rest of the year, just because I can't get anodized product in at all, let alone in a timely fashion. So there is that. So I'll go ahead and kind of turn it over to you guys. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, we can kind of go through the questions. Andrew, we'll actually probably be giving away one of those during the second release. So this first batch that we did, we only had 21 of them, but there's about 20 more of them that we're going to do. And I know that we're going to do a giveaway on the Instagram account with one of those. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, definitely do that, because one of those will be given away on Instagram. Brian, if we could set up our own anodizing shop, we would. It's a laborious process. And the biggest thing is just the EPA regulations and the inspection process that we'd have to do outside of like building it and having all the stuff set up. We've joked around about it in the past and actually kind of done a little bit of research, and just it's not something we could pull off here it's not something we could pull off here at this location. So So the so Sean asked ETA on the hammered ink. So that's like the faceted ink. I'm going to start reading questions because we got a comment from people that watched this after the live stream that they didn't know what I was answering. So Sean is asking ETA on the hammered ink, which is actually the faceted ink. I don't know yet. I don't think she started on anything except for the titanium bolts. I'll get with Zoe next week and see where those are in her schedule. Probably not until next month. Jerry, what was your favorite distillery or brewery on recent Denver trip? You know what, Jerry? I didn't have the opportunity to go to a lot of different distilleries and breweries. I went to, actually, I only went to one brewery and one distillery. I went to, trying to remember the names now. I went to Mythology, which was great. I had a great time there, and went to one brewery and had a great time there too. Ate at a bunch of different places that were amazing. So the plans didn't go as planned in terms of like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here. But I actually ended up having a better time not sticking with like a schedule. I didn't feel as rushed. I was able to just kind of relax and, experience stuff and just kind of spend some time with people that I haven't seen in a long time that I care deeply about, and had some moments out in nature where I was able to think about my dad. Just the fact that him and I and our family spent so much time camping and stuff like that, and he just recently passed. It was just kind of one of those things where I kind of felt him there. He was definitely places that he would have wanted to have visited if he'd been able to. So it was a great visit all the way around, but I didn't get to as much of like the specifics in terms of going places. Brian's asking, will Zoe be doing any more titanium anodizing? Yes. The process needs to be, so the only reason that we haven't done more is that we need to fine tune the process, the cleaning process, the etching process, the heat of the anodizing liquid needs to be fine tuned. So there's just like some stuff that we need to dial in because we're not getting consistent colors, and we're getting some like ghosting and weird like marks on them. You might have noticed some of that on some of the pins if you were one of the winners. There was some little inconsistencies in the colors, and there was like some weird things that were going on those, and a lot of that has to do with just making sure that the process is clean, and that the steps are really consistent. And so we just need to narrow that down, like bring all that into focus before we can start to do it in production. I don't want to do I know you can redo them over, but it's like, I don't want to burn up the labor. Zoe has a lot of jobs that she, like everybody that works here, she has a lot of different jobs that she does. She's in charge of making all the resin for our internal resin for our vertexes that we do internally. She's in charge of all the post-processing on all of the resin pins, including the ones that we get from outside. So anything that's resin, she has to sand those all down. It's like an 8-step process in the sanding, including the grips, and then she has to buff them all. Plus she's doing all the engraving on the titanium and on the copper. Plus what else is she doing? She runs some of the machines. If one of the operators calls out, she knows how to run machines. So Zoe does a lot of different stuff here. And so, I want to make sure that we're using her time the best way that we can. So it's one of the things that I'll be doing between now and the DC show is kind of circling back around that and seeing if we can finalize that process and get it a little bit more nailed down so that we have some quality stuff to take to DC and San Francisco. Excuse me. Okay, so any other Any other questions? I'm not trying to hurry you guys through here. It's just, like I said, I don't have a ton to talk about. Like, there's a lot of stuff on my list of things that I planned on talking about in May. None of it is at a place where I can release it. So, so Sean asks, the Jawbreaker finish was awesome. Any other possibilities on different types of patterns with Cerakote? That's a good question. I don't know. So I don't directly interface with the Cerakote applicator that we use. That was literally something that they accidentally, I don't know, kept a couple pens or